The rain had been falling for 3 days. Nari pressed her face against the window of their small house and watched the water rush down the mountain. The flood was bigger than any she had seen in her 12 years of life. "Stay away from that window," her grandmother Sunny called from the kitchen. "The old spirits are angry. They send too much water to punish us." Nari did not believe in her grandmother's old stories about spirits, but she did believe the flood was dangerous. The water had already taken away the bridge to their village. 2 houses down the hill had lost their roofs, and the noise was terrible. It sounded like the mountain was screaming. Their village of Dongzhen sat high in the mountains of the colony world. Most people lived in the big cities near the ocean, but Nari and her grandmother liked the quiet life. They grew vegetables and raised chickens. They sold eggs to traders who came up the mountain road. But today no traders would come. The road was underwater. "Grandmother, I need to check on the chickens," Nari said. "No, you stay inside where it is safe." But Nari was worried. The chicken house was close to the stream. If the water got too high, the chickens would drown. She waited until her grandmother went to her room for her afternoon rest. Then she put on her raincoat and boots. Outside, the world looked different. The small stream behind their house had become a wild river. Brown water rushed between the trees, carrying broken branches and pieces of buildings. The sound was so loud that Nari had to cover her ears. She made her way carefully to the chicken house. The building was still there, but water was already coming inside. The chickens were making scared noises and standing on their boxes to stay dry. Nari opened the door and started catching the chickens. She carried them 2 at a time to higher ground near the house. It took her 20 minutes to move all 12 chickens to safety. As she carried the last 2 chickens, she heard a different sound. It was high and thin, like a baby crying, but it came from the rushing water. I put the chickens down in their safe place and walked closer to the stream. The crying sound came again. It was definitely not human. Maybe it was a young goat or sheep from one of the farms down the mountain. She followed the sound along the water's edge. The rain made it hard to see, but then she saw something moving under a fallen tree that was stuck against some rocks. The tree was big and heavy. Brown water rushed around it and under it. The crying sound was coming from under that tree. Common sense told Nari to go back to the house. The water was dangerous. Her grandmother would be very angry if she knew Nari was out here. And whatever was trapped under the tree was probably already dead, but the crying continued. And it sounded so scared and alone. Nari looked around and found a long stick. She used it to test how deep the water was. Near the edge, it only came up to her knees. She could walk out to the fallen tree if she was very careful. The water was cold and moved fast. It tried to push her downstream, but Nari held onto branches and rocks and made her way to the trapped tree. She had to lean down and look under the branches to see what was making the noise. At first, she thought it was a bird. It had wings. But then she saw it was something else. Something she had never seen before. The creature was about the size of a small cat, but it looked like the dragons from her grandmother's old storybooks. It had 4 legs, 2 wings, a long tail, and a head with big eyes. Its skin looked like it was made of small colored stones that changed from blue to green to silver as she watched. One of its wings was caught under a heavy branch. The wing was bent wrong and bleeding. The creature looked at Nari with large, bright eyes. It stopped crying, but she could see it was in pain. Nari had never seen anything like it. Her grandmother always told stories about sky serpents that lived in the high mountains. She said they were dangerous and evil. But this small creature did not look evil. It looked hurt and scared. The water was getting higher. Soon it would cover the creature completely. Nari made her decision. She pushed her arms into the cold water and tried to lift the heavy branch. It would not move. She tried again, putting her whole body into lifting it. The branch moved a little, but not enough. The creature made a soft sound and tried to help by pulling its wing, but it was too weak. Nari looked around and saw a smaller branch floating in the water. She grabbed it and used it like a lever, pushing one end under the heavy branch. Then she pushed down with all her strength. The branch moved up just enough. The creature pulled its hurt wing free and tried to swim, but the bad wing could not work right, and the water was too strong. The creature started to sink. Nari dropped her stick and caught the creature with both hands. It was heavier than it looked, and its skin felt warm even in the cold water. The creature did not fight her. It seemed to understand she was trying to help. Getting back to the shore was harder than getting to the tree. Nari had to hold the creature with one arm and grab onto rocks and branches with the other. The water kept trying to sweep her away. Once she slipped and almost fell, but she managed to reach the bank safely. She carried the creature to the chicken house, which was now empty and mostly dry. She made a nest from old blankets and put the creature inside. It was shivering and its eyes were closing. The hurt wing was bleeding badly. Nari had helped her grandmother take care of sick animals before. She knew she needed to stop the bleeding and keep the creature warm. She ran back to the house and got the animal medicine box. Her grandmother was still sleeping. Nari took bandages, healing cream, and some old towels. She also took some milk and bread. Back in the chicken house, she carefully cleaned the creature's wing. It made soft sounds of pain, but it did not try to bite her. She put healing cream on the wound and wrapped it with a clean bandage. The creature's scales had turned a dull gray color. Nari thought this meant it was very sick. She made it drink a little milk using a small spoon. Then she wrapped it in a soft towel and held it close to her body to keep it warm. "Don't die," she whispered to it. "I will take care of you." The creature opened its large eyes and looked at her. For just a moment, Nari felt something strange. It was like the creature was looking inside her mind, like it was trying to tell her something important. Then the creature closed its eyes and went to sleep. Outside, the rain continued to fall. But in the warm chicken house, a 12-year-old girl sat holding a creature from the old stories, promising to keep it safe. She did not know that this moment would change everything. Not just for her, but for her entire world. 15 years had passed since the Great Flood. Nari was now 27 years old and very different from the small girl who had saved a strange creature in the storm. She had grown tall and strong, with clever hands that could fix any machine, and a mind that could solve difficult problems. The village of Dongzhen had grown too. It was now called New Dongzhen and had become a small city. Ships came from space to bring supplies and take away the metals that people dug from the mountains. Nari worked as an engineer, designing the machines that helped the miners work safely, but she never forgot the creature she had saved. After the flood, she had kept the dragon-like being hidden in the chicken house for 3 weeks. Every day she brought it food and changed its bandages. The creature had been very sick at first. Its scales stayed gray and it barely moved. But slowly, it got better. The creature's scales began to change colors again. When it was happy, they turned bright gold. When it was sad, they became dark blue. When it was curious, they sparkled like stars. Nari learned that the creature was very smart. It understood when she talked to it, even though it could not talk back. As its wing healed, the creature became stronger. It would fly around the chicken house in small circles. Then it began to fly outside at night when no one could see it. Nari knew it was getting ready to leave. On the last night, the creature had done something amazing. It touched its small head to Nari's forehead. Suddenly, she felt warm all over. And in her mind, she heard a voice that was not her own. "Thank you, heart friend," the voice had said. "I will remember." Then the creature flew away into the dark sky. Nari never saw it again. Over the years, she sometimes wondered if it had been real. Maybe it was just a dream brought on by the excitement of the flood. But deep in her heart, she knew it was real. And sometimes, late at night, she thought she could still feel that warm touch on her mind. Now, 15 years later, strange things were happening in space.nar. I was working in her office when her friend Hyunwoo came running in. He was a scientist who studied alien life forms. His face was excited and worried at the same time. "Nari, you need to see this." Saad, putting a data pad on her desk. "Ships, huge ships, like nothing we have ever seen." Nari looked at the pictures on the screen. The ships were beautiful and strange. They looked like they were made of crystal and metal mixed together. They were shaped like long, curved animals with wings, and they were enormous. Each one was bigger than the largest human ship ever built. "Where did you get these pictures?" she asked. "From the colonies near the edge of our space," Yunwu said. "These ships have been appearing for the past month. They come to a system, scan everything, then disappear. They never attack. They never try to talk. They just watch and leave." Nari felt something strange in her chest. The ships looked familiar somehow, though she was sure she had never seen anything like them. "What do the military people think?" she asked. "Admiral Taiho thinks they are getting ready to attack us," Yunwu said. "He is moving warships to defend the outer colonies. But I think he is wrong. If they wanted to attack, they would have done it already. These ships are much more advanced than ours." That evening, Nari went to the spaceport to meet with Admiral Taiho. He was an old soldier who had fought in the wars against the robot armies 20 years ago. He was brave, but he always thought the worst of strangers. "These alien ships are a threat," he told Nari. "They are mapping our defenses. Soon they will come with an invasion fleet." "But they have not attacked anyone," Nari said. "Maybe they just want to learn about us." "That is what they want us to think," Admiral Taiho replied. "Trust me, I have seen this before. First they watch, then they attack when we are not ready." Also at the meeting was Commander Ji-hoon, a younger officer, who led the Space Marines. He was not as sure as the Admiral. "The ships do seem to be studying us," he said. "But they could destroy our colonies easily if they wanted to. Why wait?" Before Admiral Taiho could answer, an alarm sounded. A communication officer ran into the room. "Sir, we are getting a message from the Deep Space Monitoring Station. A ship just appeared in the Kepler system. But this one is different. It is much bigger than the others." They all went to the communication center. On the big screen was a picture of a ship that took Nari's breath away. It was at least 50 kilometers long and shaped like a sleeping dragon. Its surface was covered with what looked like scales that caught and reflected light in amazing patterns. "My God," whispered Commander Ji-hoon, "it is beautiful." "It is dangerous," said Admiral Taiho. "All ships, battle stations." But before he could give more orders, something incredible happened. The huge ship began to send a message. Not in the usual way that ships talk to each other, but in perfect Korean language that everyone could understand. "People of the third planet of the yellow star," the message said, "we seek the one who showed kindness to the small and helpless. We seek the heart keeper of the mountain village, the one who saved life when she could have walked away." Everyone in the room looked confused, but Nari felt her heart begin to beat. Very fast, the message continued. 15 of your years ago, in the time of great waters, a young human female found one of our kind hurt and dying. She risked her own safety to give aid. She asked for nothing in return. This act of pure kindness created a bond that can never be broken. Nari's hands began to shake. It could not be possible. But the voice in her mind was saying it was true. "We have traveled far to find this human. We bring gifts of friendship and alliance. But first we must speak with the heart keeper. Send her to us, and we will show your people wonders beyond imagining." The message ended. The room was completely quiet. Admiral Taiho looked confused and angry. "What does this mean?" he demanded. "Who is this heart keeper?" Nari took a deep breath. After 15 years of wondering, she finally had her answer. The small creature she had saved was not from Earth. It was from the stars. And somehow it had found her again. "I think," she said quietly, "the message is for me." Everyone turned to stare at her. She could see they thought she was crazy. But in her heart, she knew it was true. The creature she had saved in the flood had grown up, and now it had come back, but it had not come back alone. It had brought an entire fleet with it. Nari looked up at the stars through the window and wondered what would happen next. Her quiet life was about to change forever. The next morning, a massive crystal ship appeared in the sky above New Dongzhen. It was so big that it blocked out the sun. People ran out of their houses to stare up at it in wonder and fear. Nari stood in the town square with Admiral Taiho, commander, Ji-hoon, and Hyunwoo. Military ships flew around the crystal ship like tiny insects around a giant bird. But the alien ship did not move or attack, it just waited. "We should shoot it down before it attacks us," Admiral Taiho said. His hand was on his weapon. "Our weapons would not even scratch it," Commander Jahun said quietly. "Look at the size of that thing. It could destroy our entire planet if it wanted to." Hyunwoo was taking readings with his science equipment. "The energy coming from that ship is incredible," he said. "But it is not charging weapons. It seems to be just waiting for something." Nari knew what it was waiting for. "It was waiting for her. I need to go up there," she said. "Absolutely not," Admiral Taiho said. "It is too dangerous. This could be a trap. If they wanted to hurt us, they would have done it already," Nari replied. "They came here looking for me. I need to find out why." Before anyone could stop her, Nari walked to the middle of the square. She looked up at the huge ship and spoke in a loud voice. "I am Nari Kim of Dongzhen. I think you are looking for me. I am here." For a moment, nothing happened. Then a beam of soft light came down from the ship. It surrounded Nari but did not hurt her. She felt warm and safe inside the light. "Nari, get out of there!" Hyunwoo shouted, but the light was already lifting her up toward the ship. As she rose into the air, she saw her friends getting smaller. Below her, she was scared but also excited. After 15 years, she was going to see her small dragon friend again. The light brought her into a large room inside the ship. The walls were made of the same crystal material as the outside, but they glowed with soft colors. The air smelled like flowers and rain. Then she saw him. The creature she had saved was no longer small. He was now as big as a house, with scales that shimmered like stars. His wings were huge and perfect. There was no sign of the injury she had helped heal so long ago, but his eyes were the same, large and bright and full of intelligence. When he saw her, his scales turned bright gold, just like they had when he was happy as a baby. "Heart friend," a voice said in her mind. It was deeper now, but she recognized it. "You have grown tall and strong, but you are still the kind human who saved my life." Nari felt tears in her eyes. "You came back," she said. "I promised I would remember," the dragon said. "My name is Ethros. I am a star dragon of the Eternal Fleet, and you, Nari Kim, are the most important human in the galaxy." "I do not understand," Nari said. Ethros moved closer. Even though he was enormous, his movements were gentle and careful. "My people have slept for 1,000 years, he explained. "We hid from a great danger that threatened all life. But now, we are awake again, and we need allies. Allies for what? To fight the Devourers, ancient machines that turn living beings into slaves. They are coming again, drawn by the radio signals of young species like yours. Your people are in great danger." Nari felt cold despite the warm air. "Why are you telling me this? I am just an engineer from a small town." "You are much more than that," Ethros said. His scales shifted to a serious blue color. "When you saved me, you created a soul bond between us. This bond cannot be broken. It means that I trust you with my life, and you can trust me with yours." A door opened in the crystal wall. 3 more dragons entered the room. They were even bigger than Ethros, and their scales were silver and gold with age. "This is the Council of Elders," Ethros said. "They lead my people." The largest dragon, with scales like liquid silver, spoke in Nari's mind. "I am Velora first, mother of the star dragons. We have watched your species for many years. Humans are young and sometimes foolish. But you have something most species lose as they grow older. What is that?" Nari asked. "The ability to show kindness to strangers." Another elder said, "Most intelligent species become suspicious and cruel as they develop technology. But humans can still feel compassion for those who are different from them. Like when you saved Ethros," the third elder added. "You had never seen his kind before. Your grandmother had told you stories that said dragons were dangerous. But when you saw a small creature in pain, you risked your life to help it." Velora's scales brightened. "This is why we chose to contact you first. We could have spoken to your leaders or your military, But we wanted to speak to someone who represents the best of humanity. Nari felt overwhelmed. I still do not understand what you want from me. We want to offer your people an alliance, Ethros said. Our technology and wisdom, combined with human creativity and compassion. Together we can defend against the Devourers and bring peace to the galaxy. But why me? I'm nobody special. You're special to me, Ethros said simply. And in dragon culture the bond between soul friends is sacred. If you agree to be our ambassador, your people and mine can become family. Nari thought about Admiral Taiho and his suspicions. She thought about Commander Jihoon and his caution. She thought about all the humans who would be afraid of these giant dragons. My people will be scared, she said. They will think you want to conquer us. Some will, Velora agreed. Fear of the unknown is natural. But you can help them understand that we come as friends, not conquerors. What would I have to do? Return to your people, Ethros said. Tell them what you have learned. Help us prove that we can be trusted. And when the Devourers come, stand with us as we fight to protect all life in the galaxy. Nari looked around at the magnificent dragons. Just days ago, her biggest worry was fixing a broken mining machine. Now she was being asked to help save the galaxy, but when she looked at Ethros, she remembered the small, hurt creature she had pulled from the floodwaters. She remembered the trust in his eyes when she bandaged his wing. That trust was still there, only stronger. I will try, she said. Ethros's scales turned the brightest gold she had ever seen. Thank you, heart friend. Now let us take you home. Your people are worried about you. As the light beam carried her back down to the town square, Nari wondered how she was going to explain all this to Admiral Tejo. How do you tell people that dragons are real and they want to be friends? But as she looked up at Ethros's ship, she knew she had to try. The little girl who had saved a dragon in a flood was now the bridge between two species, and the fate of the galaxy might depend on whether she could help them understand each other. The greatest adventure of her life was just beginning. 3 days after her meeting with Ethros, Nari found herself aboard the dragon mothership called Eternal Flame. She had convinced Admiral Taiho and Commander Jihoon to let her return to learn more about the dragons and their offer. The ship was more beautiful than anything she had ever imagined. The walls were alive with soft light that changed colors like a sunset. Gardens grew in rooms with no soil, their roots drawing life from crystal formations. And everywhere dragons of different sizes moved through the air with grace and purpose. Ethros led her through corridors that seemed to stretch on forever. Other dragons stopped to look at her with curious eyes. Some were as small as cats, others as large as buildings. But all of them watched her with the same intelligent gaze. Your ship is like a city, Nari said in wonder. It is a city, Ethros replied. 5 million of my people live on this vessel. We have been traveling between stars since before your species learned to make fire. They entered a vast chamber where the walls showed images of space. Stars and planets moved slowly across the surfaces like a living map. In the center of the room sat the 3 elder dragons Nari had met before, along with several others. Welcome back, young human, Velora said. Are you ready to learn the truth about your galaxy? Nari nodded, though she felt nervous. The images on the walls began to change. They showed planets covered with cities, ships moving between stars, and creatures of many different shapes and sizes. Long ago, Velora began, the galaxy was full of young species like yours. They built cities, explored space, and learned to live together in peace. We dragons were the eldest among them. We helped guide and protect the younger races. The images changed to show great battles in space. Dark ships that looked like metal insects fought against dragons and other creatures. But then came the Devourers, another elder said. Machines built by a species that feared death so much they gave up their bodies to become computers. The Devourers spread across the galaxy, turning every living thing they found into more machines. Nari watched in horror as the images showed planets being stripped of all life. Cities turned to metal, forests became factories. We fought them for 1,000 years, Velora continued. Many species were completely destroyed. Others, like us, went into hiding. We found empty planets far from the main star routes and went to sleep, waiting for the devourers to exhaust themselves and shut down. And they did shut down? Nari asked. Most of them, Ethros said, but not all. Some waited in the dark spaces between stars, and now they are waking up. The wall images showed radio signals spreading out from human colonies. Then they showed dark shapes moving toward those signals. Your species sends out radio waves, television signals, and computer data, an elder explained. To the devourers, these signals are like a dinner bell. They tell the machines that intelligent life has developed here. Nari felt sick. How long do we have? Perhaps 5 years before the first scout ships arrive, Valora said. 10 years before the main fleet comes. After that, every living thing in this part of the galaxy will be turned into machine parts. Unless we stop them, Ethros added. Nari looked around at all the dragons. Can you defeat them? Not alone, Valora admitted. We are strong, but there are not enough of us. When we went to sleep, there were billions of dragons. Now there are only millions. We need allies who can think quickly and adapt to new situations. Like humans, Nari said. Exactly like humans, another elder said. We have watched your species for 200 years. You are young and sometimes reckless, but you have qualities that most advanced species lose. What qualities? Curiosity, Ethros said. Most old species become set in their ways. They do? Things the same way for thousands of years. But humans always want to try new approaches. Cooperation, Valora added. Your people can work together even when they come from different cultures and backgrounds. Many species become divided as they grow more intelligent. And compassion, the third elder said. Like when you saved Ethros? You could have walked away, but you chose to help a creature you had never seen before. Nari thought about this. So you want humans to fight alongside dragons against these devourers? We want more than that, Valora said. We want to teach your people our technology. We want to share our knowledge of the galaxy. We want to become one people working together to protect all life. But there is a problem, Ethros said, his scales turning worried blue. Many humans will not trust us. They will think we want to conquer them. And many dragons will not trust humans, another elder added. They remember the wars with devourers. They are afraid to risk their lives for a young species they barely know, Nari understood. You need someone to prove that humans and dragons can work together. Yes, Valora said. We need you to lead a mission that shows both species what we can accomplish together. The wall images changed to show a planet covered in dark metal structures. Strange machines moved across its surface like metal spiders. This is Kafara Prime, Ethros explained. It was a human mining colony with 50,000 people. 3 months ago, the Devourers found it. Now it is one of their processing centers. Nari stared at the horrible images. The people ... they dead? Worse, Valora said sadly. They have been turned into cyborgs. Part machine, part living tissue. Their minds are controlled by the Devourer network, but their bodies are still alive. Can they be saved? If we can destroy the control center before the conversion process is complete, yes. But it will require a combined force of humans and dragons working perfectly together. Nari felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. You want me to lead this mission? We want you to be our bridge, Ethros said. You understand both species? You can help humans and dragons learn to trust each other in battle. If we succeed, Valora added, it will prove to both our peoples that the alliance can work. If we fail ... If we fail, the galaxy falls to the machines, Nari finished. She looked around at the dragons watching her. Then she thought about the 50,000 humans trapped on Kafara Prime. She thought about Admiral Teho's suspicions and Commander Jehun's caution. She thought about all the people in New Dongzon who were probably scared right now, because dragon ships filled their sky, but mostly she thought about the small, hurt creature she had pulled from floodwaters 15 years ago. She had chosen to save one life then, even though it was dangerous and strange. Now she was being asked to help save billions. I will do it, she said. Ethros' scales blazed with golden light. Then let us begin preparing for the greatest battle of both our species. As Nari looked out at the stars through the crystal walls, she wondered if a small-town engineer was really ready to help save the galaxy, but she knew she had to try. The bond of trust between species had to start somewhere, and it was starting with her. 2 weeks later, Nari stood on the bridge of a human warship called the Thunderstrike. Through the windows, she could see Kafara Prime growing larger as they approached. The planet that had once been green and blue was now gray and black. Metal. Structures covered its surface like a disease. Sensors show massive devourer activity, reported Captain Minho, the ship's commander. There are at least 1,000 machine units on the surface. Behind the human fleet, dragon ships move through space like living creatures. Ethros flew alongside the Thunderstrike, his massive form visible through the bridge windows. With him were 20 other dragons, including a young female named Pirith who was Ethros' clutch sister. Commander Jihun stood next to Nari, studying tactical displays. Our intelligence says the conversion center is located in the planet's capital city. If we can destroy it, the human prisoners should be freed from machine control. But we have to move fast, added Dr. Solman, a scientist who had joined the mission. Every hour we delay, more humans are converted into cyborgs. Nari felt the weight of command on her shoulders. Admiral Taiho had reluctantly agreed to let her lead this joint mission, but only after weeks of argument. Many humans still did not trust the dragons, and some dragons thought working with humans was a waste of time. All ships prepare for battle, Nari said into her communication device. The fleet entered Kafara Prime's atmosphere. Immediately, alarms began sounding as devourer ships rose to meet them. The enemy vessels looked like flying metal insects, their surfaces covered with weapons and sensors. Dragon wings, take the high-altitude fighters, Nari ordered. Human ships, focus on the ground defenses. The battle began with flashes of light filling the sky. Dragon breath weapons, which shot beams of pure energy, cut through devourer ships like hot knives through ice. Human missiles and plasma cannons hammered at the enemy formations, but the devourers had advantages too. Their ships could repair themselves quickly, and they felt no fear or pain. They attacked with mechanical precision, coordinating their movements perfectly. We are taking heavy losses, Captain Minho reported. The enemy has more ships than we expected. Through the battle communication system, Nari heard Ethros' voice. The devourers are using the converted humans as pilots in some ships. We cannot destroy them without killing the people we came to save. This was the worst possible situation. Nari watched as devourer ships flown by mind-controlled humans attacked both dragons and human vessels. The allies had to defend themselves without killing the very people they were trying to rescue. All units, switch to disable-only weapons, Nari ordered. We capture enemy ships intact when possible. The battle became much harder. Instead of destroying devourer ships, the allies had to carefully disable them. This took longer and required more skill. Several human ships were badly damaged. 2 dragons were injured when they tried to capture enemy vessels without harming the human pilots inside. Pirith, the young dragon fighting alongside Ethros, took a direct hit from a devourer weapon. Her left wing was badly hurt, and she began falling toward the planet's surface. Pirith is down, Ethros called out, his mental voice full of worry. I must help her. No, Nari said quickly. If you leave your position, the entire formation falls apart. I will get her. Before anyone could stop her, Nari grabbed an emergency flight suit and jumped out of the Thunderstrike's cargo bay. The suit's wings extended and she glided down toward the falling dragon. Pirith was trying to fly with her damaged wing, but she was losing altitude fast. Below them, the planet's surface was covered with devourer machines that would capture or kill them both. Nari activated her suit's emergency rockets and caught up with the wounded dragon. Pirith, can you hear me? Human friend, Pirith replied weakly. I cannot fly properly. You should save yourself. Dragons do not abandon their allies, Nari said, remembering what Ethros had taught her. And neither do humans. She used her suit's repair tools to patch the worst damage to Pirith's wing. It was not a perfect fix, but it would let the dragon glide to safety. Together they made it to a landing zone that human marines had secured. The battle in the sky continued for 3 more hours. Slowly, the combined human and dragon forces gained the upper hand. The key was learning to work together. Dragons provided heavy firepower and could take more damage. Humans were faster and better at precise targeting. When the last Devourer ship was disabled, the real mission began. Nari led a combined team of Marines and young dragons into the capital city. The buildings had been transformed into mechanical structures full of cables and processors. At the city center was the conversion facility. It looked like a metal mountain with thousands of cables leading into it. Through the transparent walls, they could see rows of humans connected to machines. The people were still alive, but their eyes stared blankly ahead. "The control center is at the top," Dr. Soman said, scanning the structure with her instruments. "But there are thousands of defensive systems between here and there. And we only have 30 minutes before the facility completes its current conversion cycle," Commander Jehun added. "After that, the people inside will be lost forever." Nari looked at her mixed team of humans and dragons. "We split into 3 groups. Dragons provide cover fire while humans plant explosives at the support points. I will take a small team to the control center." The assault on the conversion facility was the hardest fighting any of them had ever experienced. Devourer machines came at them from every direction. Some looked like metal spiders. Others looked like flying serpents made of wires and circuits, but the combination of human tactics and dragon power proved unstoppable. While dragons blasted through heavy defenses, human engineers found weak points in the machine systems. While humans planted explosives with precision, dragons protected them from counterattacks. Nari and Ethros fought their way to the top of the facility together. In the control center, they found a massive computer core that was processing the minds of captured humans. "If we destroy this wrong, we could kill everyone connected to it," Dr. Soman warned through the radio. Nari studied the alien technology. Her engineering training helped her understand how the systems worked. "There," she said, pointing to a central node. "If we disconnect that carefully, the control signals will stop, but the life support will continue. I can precisely target that component," Ethros said. "But you will have to guide my aim." Working together, they carefully severed the control connections. Immediately, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. The blank stares of the captured humans became confused, then frightened, then relieved as their minds returned to their own control. "Evacuation complete," Commander Jehun reported. "All human prisoners are free and being taken to medical ships." As they flew away from Kafara Prime, Nari watched the planet through the ship's windows. The Devourer facility was collapsing as the explosives detonated. Soon, the planet would be lifeless and empty. But 50,000 humans were alive and free because dragons and humans had learned to work together. "You did well, hard friend," Ethros said, flying alongside the ship. "Both our peoples fought with honor today." Nari smiled, though she was exhausted. "It was just the beginning. We proved we can work together in battle. Now we need to prove we can build a future together." As the combined fleet headed home, Nari knew that everything had changed. Humans and dragons were no longer separate species. They were allies, bound together by trust and shared sacrifice. The test of worthiness was complete. Now the real work could begin. 6 months after the Battle of Kafara Prime, Nari stood in a place she never could have imagined. She was in the Crystal Amphitheater on Ethermore, the dragon homeworld. Around her, thousands of dragons filled the air and perched on crystal. Formations that grew from the walls like frozen waterfalls, but dragons were not the only ones present. Representatives from dozens of alien species had come to witness this historic ceremony. There were the insect-like Kavik, who had been the first to warn humans about the ancient star worms. There were the crystal beings from Senth, whose bodies rang like bells when they moved. There were tall, blue-skinned people from the water. World of Aquanus and many others, even humans, were there. Admiral Taiho stood in the front row, wearing his best uniform. Next to him were Commander Jihoon, Dr. Soman, Captain Minho, and Hyungwoo. Her old friend still could not quite believe that his engineering colleague from New Dongzhen was about to become the most important person in the galaxy. "I still think this is crazy," Yunwoo whispered to her. "6 months ago you were fixing mining equipment? Now you are going to be an empress." "Not a real empress," Nari whispered back. "Just a symbol. Someone to help different species work together." But even as she said it, she knew it was more than that. The events of the past months had changed everything after the successful rescue mission. Other species had begun contacting the Human-Dragon Alliance. They had all heard stories of the ancient star worms, and they wanted protection from the returning devourers. Some brought advanced technology. Others brought knowledge of devourer weaknesses. Still others brought large populations that could help in the coming war, but they all wanted the same thing: to be part of an alliance led by someone they could trust. And for reasons Nari still did not fully understand, they trusted her. "It is because you represent the best of what alliance can achieve," Velora had explained. "You are human, but you speak for dragons. You are young, but you carry ancient wisdom. You are small, but you have changed the fate of the galaxy." Now, as the ceremony began, Nari tried not to feel overwhelmed. Ethros landed on the crystal platform next to her. His scales were bright gold with happiness, but she could sense his nervousness too. "Are you ready, heart friend?" "No," Nari said honestly, "but I will do my best." Velora rose from her place of honor and spoke in a voice that filled the vast amphitheater. "We are gathered here to witness something that has never happened before in the history of the galaxy. Today, we join 2 species in permanent alliance. Today, we choose a leader who will speak for all who seek peace and freedom." The ancient dragon matriarch flew to the center of the amphitheater, carrying something in her claws. It was a crown, but not like any human crown. It looked like it was made of liquid starlight, constantly shifting and flowing. "This is the crown of stars," Velora announced. "It was created by the first dragons when we began exploring space millions of years ago. It has never been worn by anyone who was not born a dragon." She placed the crown gently on Nari's head. Immediately, Nari felt a warm, tingling sensation spread through her mind. Suddenly, she could hear the thoughts and feelings of every dragon in the amphitheater. More than that, she could sense the human minds present too. The crown was connecting her to both species at once. "With this crown," Velora continued, "you become the bridge between all peoples. You carry our hopes, our dreams, and our trust in the future." Ethros stepped forward. "And with this ritual," he said, "I declare you my soul sister and the keeper of dragon honor among humans." He touched his forehead to hers, just as he had when he was small and hurt in the flood, but now the sensation was much stronger. Nari felt their bond deepen and strengthen. She knew that no matter what happened, she and Ethros would always be connected. The other species representatives came forward one by one to pledge their support. The Kavik elder clicked his mandibles in their traditional greeting. The crystal being from Senth sang a harmony that made the amphitheater ring like a giant bell. Each species had their own way of showing respect, and Nari tried to respond appropriately to each one. Finally, Admiral Taiho stepped forward to represent humanity. "Empress Nari," he said formally, "humanity pledges its support to the Galactic Alliance. We will stand with our dragon allies and all free peoples against the darkness that threatens us." As the ceremony concluded, Nari found herself standing on a platform that rose high above the amphitheater floor. Through the transparent walls, she could see the dragon homeworld spreading out below her. Cities of living crystal dotted the landscape. Dragons flew through the sky in graceful formations. And in orbit around the planet, she could see the massive space stations where humans and dragons worked together to build the fleet that would defend the galaxy. "How do you feel?" Ethros asked, landing beside her. Nari touched the crown on her head. Through it, she could sense the thoughts and hopes of millions of beings across dozens of worlds. Humans who looked to her for leadership. Dragons who trusted her with their ancient honor. Alien species who hoped she could help them build a better future. Scared, she said honestly, but also ready. Good, Ethro said. The best leaders are always a little scared. It means they understand how important their job is. Over the following weeks, Nari threw herself into her new role. She worked with Admiral Taiho to reorganize human military forces. She studied dragon technology with Dr. Soman and Hyunwoo. She met with alien ambassadors to discuss trade and mutual defense agreements, but her most important job was simply being herself. Whenever tensions arose between species, she was there to help them understand each other. When human engineers could not figure out how dragon technology worked, she helped translate between different ways of thinking. When dragons became impatient with human questions, she reminded them that curiosity was a strength, not a weakness. The hardest part was the responsibility. Every decision she made affected millions of lives. When she approved new colony sites, entire populations would move to those worlds. When she allocated resources to military projects, it determined whether civilizations would survive the coming war with the Devourers, but she was not alone. Ethros was always there to provide wisdom and support. Commander Ji-hoon helped her understand military strategy. Hyunwoo kept her connected to her human roots. And every day she received messages from ordinary people across the galaxy, thanking her for giving them hope. 1 year after becoming Empress, Nari stood on the observation deck of Harmony's Gate, the massive space station that served as the Alliance capital. Through the windows, she watched mixed fleets of human and dragon ships patrolling the borders of their territory. The station itself was a miracle of cooperation. Human engineering and dragon artistry had combined to create something neither species could have built alone. Gardens grew in gravity-free chambers, tended by beings from a dozen different worlds. Markets sold goods from across the galaxy. Children of many species played together in parks where the concept of alien was already becoming meaningless. The first Devourer scouts will reach our borders soon, Ethros said, joining her at the window. I know, Nari replied. Are we ready? As ready as we can be. The Alliance fleet is strong. Our technology has improved greatly. And most importantly, we trust each other. Nari smiled, remembering the frightened girl who had pulled a small dragon from floodwater so long ago. Do you think that little girl in Dongzhen ever imagined she would end up here? I think, Ethros said, his scales warming to gold. She always knew she was meant to help others. The scale just got bigger. Through the crown, Nari could sense the minds of her people across the galaxy. Humans and dragons, Kavik and Crystal. Beings and dozens of other species, all working together toward a common goal. They were no longer separate peoples. They were one alliance, one family, ready to face whatever challenges came their way. In the distance, new ships were arriving at the station. More species wanting to join the alliance. More people looking for hope in an uncertain galaxy. Nari straightened her shoulders and prepared to meet them. The girl who had saved a dragon in a flood had become the Empress of 2 worlds and the guardian of countless more, and her greatest adventures were still ahead of her.